My name is Irene Antonia Diane Reece. My series is called Don't Cry for Me When I'm Gone. I developed this work as a continuation of all the work that I've done, which is centering the Black archives and protecting them. In this case, I'm using them to talk about forms of grief and liberation and how grief is transformed in different ways, not just in sadness, but also in celebrating life and the folks that were here but are no longer here. But specifically, my father has always told us that when I die, I don't want to find out when I'm in heaven that you fell out all over the casket and started crying and stuff. You better not be crying for me when you're gone. And in Black Southern churches, like, you're supposed to celebrate their life. You're not supposed to be sad. It's supposed to be like a celebration. I'm deeply influenced by Black poets and Black authors and Black woman feminists. And that's also because of my child upbringing, my dad being a writer and him influencing me to write. When I use text, normally it's like a call and response method. So I write something, that's the call, and however you respond. I started working with my archives when I was in Paris, France in graduate school. I knew that I was going to be homesick. So for whatever reason, I scanned my family archives. And I was just looking at them and I thought, oh, I'm going to make work out of it. And so it just led me down this rabbit hole of comforting myself because I was dealing with a lot of racism and discrimination in France and in my program. And so that's what helped liberate me and radicalize me. And I always talk about how the archives radicalized me, but that was the start of many projects of just making work surrounding my family and my identity. The first archives that I went through were my granny's. And normally she didn't really show the archives. I just happened to rummage through her closet and I was just looking at pictures and I was just enamored by them because it's photographs from the 50s to late 70s, some even 80s, of just my father's childhood, my grandmother in her 20s and 30s. I have no idea what they were like back then. And so you're learning about who they were as a person before you even existed. The two pink objects are from my great aunt, Mercy V. She was my granddad's sister, his only sister, his little sister. She would take care of us 2 or 3 days out of the week. So she was like a second grandmother to me. And she died when I was 12, and she died very tragically. And it really deeply impacted me. And her husband abandoned the house. And so we went in there and we just took what we could. I chose those two things because I've had my most fondest memories on there. The pink little chair is a vanity chair. I would play with her makeup and do little fashion shows with her. And then she would sit me on the lounge chair to dress me as a kid. I feel like she's here when I put that in the piece. And then it ends with the bottom picture of me holding a photograph of him and walking away with it. And I initially made that photograph because I had watched Maya Angelou speaking about ancestors and bringing your ancestors with you. She's like, when you go to your job interview, come on, grandma. Come on, auntie, you've been dead and gone for 5 years now. I'm going to take you with me to this interview because you'll give me strength. And so I thought about that when I created that image. My granddad was an agriculture teacher. I always grew up with a garden and chickens and stuff in Houston because my dad's from Conroe, Texas, and they're from the country. And so a lot of my work, you'll see nature and stuff because even though I grew up in the city, I do have a country heart. I kept my granddad's eyes uncovered because I feel like he's always with me wherever I am. I've been learning this since last year, giving grace to others and myself, giving myself rest and time, because you get consumed when you're working with archives, because again, it brings back trauma. There's a lot of pauses when making this work and realization that I am over exerting myself. So just a lot of care and nurturing went on when making this work.